Want to just give a little bit of a warning that we're going to talk about the Teals now, and some of the content may be a bit distressing, what we're talking about to viewers due to what happened and the graphic nature of it. But last week we told you how the Teals had all signed this letter. Here it is. We've got all the signatures. This letter begging Penny Wong to start resending millions of Australian tax dollars, your money, to UNRWA. That's the globally discredited United Nations Relief Works Agency, which is riddled with proven links and ties to Hamas. And we've detailed those many times in the past on this show. This week, the United Nations finally admitted that Hamas raped and sexually tortured women on October 7th. They also raped corpses. They are still, as we speak, raping the kidnapped girls. In other words, the Teals, with their letter, want to see your money possibly falling into the hands of and funding some of the people responsible for murdering, raping, butchery, and depravity of the very worst kind. Here is the recording released by the Israeli Defense Forces of what they believe to be an UNRWA worker, speaking in euphemisms describing how he and another man took an Israeli female captive on October 7th and brought her home. He then jokingly refers to her as his horse, a noble horse, and the two of them laugh about it.
لقيت شيء؟ جبنا فرس يا حاج. ايش جبت؟ خيل فرس. جاب حصان؟ صار اصلا اصيل مش حصان كديش تبع القرعان. انت مين جبتهم؟ مين
These people are sick, and many more links between UNRWA and Hamas have been discovered. So let me repeat, if you are sending Australian tax dollars to UNRWA and insisting our government does so in a letter with your signature on it, you risk sending Jewish Australians money, hard-earned money, to fund the very terrorists who butchered and raped 1,200 Jews in the worst pogrom since the Holocaust. So let us read to you again all the names of the Teals who signed this disgusting letter. Rita.
We've got Allegra Spender, Zoe Daniels, Monique Ryan, Kate Cheney, Sophie Scamps, Kylie Tink, Zali Stegel, along with Helen Haynes and Andrew Wilkie. Now, this week we learned that not one but two Jewish organisations cancelled Allegra Spender from attending their events. And I quote here from Courage to Care, an organisation that vows never again to the Holocaust. They wrote, next week we'll be holding our luncheon to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Courage to Care New South Wales. Our guest speaker was to have been Allegra Spender. In light of recent events, it has been mutually agreed that it would be in the best interest of our organisation if she was to withdraw. The recent event we referred to was a letter to Foreign Minister Penny Wong signed by Ms Spender and others.
A few days later, a Jewish college also retracted by mutual agreement with Allegra Spender for her not to attend their function. Now, Allegra Spender is the Teal MP for Wentworth, which has one of Australia's largest Jewish communities. As the Australian Jewish Association's David Adler pointed out, Courage to Care is all about Holocaust education for never again. UNRWA, via its education with Hamas, is all about do it again. They are incompatible.
It appears the Jews of Australia have finally been waking up to what I've been warning them for years. Labor, the Greens, and now the Teals are not your friends. The sheer chutzpah of the Teals, probably not a word the Teals are familiar with, the sheer chutzpah in pretending to be ex- or disillusioned liberals and passing themselves off to the electorate as such. They are hardcore leftists through and through and should be treated as such. Do not vote for them. As Greg Sheridan writes brilliantly this week, there is currently a global pandemic of hatred against the Jews. In such an appalling worldwide situation, history demands, and this is my words, not Greg's, we all show maximum support for the Jews at this critical point in time. Shame on the Teals for this disgraceful letter. Rita, so there's already a reaction against Allegra Spender, which we've detailed, understandably. You have to show support, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think the eyes of a lot of voters, not just Jewish voters, but particularly Jewish voters, have been opened because those teal seats do have typically a disproportionate number of Jewish Australians in them. And I think they need to explain themselves. They need to explain why they've signed this letter, why they're advocating for this funding to be restored, given everything we have learned and are still learning about this discredited group, which, again, we've been warning about that group on this program for years, well before October 7. There were plenty of signs of Hamas having their having some control on what they were doing, and just the really ugly indoctrination that they were funding, never mind what we saw on October 7th.
Well, more than that too, Rita, I really wonder if in seats like Wentworth, where they turfed out Dave Sharma, who was a great friend of Israel, and in fact a former Australian ambassador to Israel, for Allegra Spender, whether or not there's an awful lot of buyer's remorse happening
100%.
Right there.
What about Kooyong?
Josh Frydenberg.
Kooyong, Josh Frydenberg, another great example. And, what did we see happen? What is the end result of that 2022 election? Well, you have seen a strengthening of Labor seats where there is a strongly pro-Palestinian and some would say pro-Hamas, if you saw the demonstrations after October 7th.
We'll look at one in a second.
And at the same time, a weakening of Jewish representation because they have lost some of their great advocates and friends in Parliament. And no wonder Labor is so divided and getting pulled to the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian side on all of this, losing its moral compass because those other voices are not there in the Parliament anymore.
Well, this show will be exposing the Teals one by one, week after week. We're going after them because they need to be out of Parliament.